Hey guys, this is Elation PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading a personal guide with a lot of shit happening to learning how to be siblings, again, by Damian Wayne, by shroom_03. The summary is, "Did you die?" And his voice was choppy and choked. His eyes had a lack of green for once, and were a clear blue. It bothered Damian, reminding him too much of the other blue-eyed members of the family. Everything stops. Damian is staring in shock. Years of hiding this all down the drain if he couldn't lie his way out of this. Or, Damian and Jason try to learn how to be family again, with a lot of horrible shit happening in between. Alright, without further ado, Chapter 1. Damian didn't know how to feel about Jason. Jason used to be this figure of hope when he was younger, who he knew he could always go to for help, and that he wouldn't have to feel shame because this was his older brother, who he would trust with his life over and over again. Damian holds his breath for a moment. Damian didn't know how to deal with Jason. He didn't know how to handle being around him after he had left. Jason stayed, and he stayed for him, and then Jason had left. He didn't know how to deal with the grief that came along with that. Jason was equally his brother as his mother was his blood, which is what made it hurt worse that he had left. In his own brain, he keeps thinking, I do not need him. I do not need him. He forces that to anyone who asks the words feel wrong. Lies, his body yells, his whole mind. Lying is an act of cowardice. Jason was his brother, but when he had begged him to stay, to not go after that man, Jason had left anyway. He thought a single thought. I will never let anyone hurt you as you hurt me. And he never would. He would never let Grayson get close, he would not relent his insults towards Drake, and he would not warm up to Pennyworth. But he hates that at the same time, both of them know each other by every scar that they have gained together. Every hit that Jason had taken for Damian and every hit that Damian had taken for him. They know each other by the little habits they both do. How Damian, when thinking, will rub his fingers along his knuckles. How Jason will tap out a melody with his hands when listening to other people talk. They know each other far too well. Jason knows that every twitch of Damian's eyebrows means that Damian knows what Jason needs to do in battle, just by the same tone of his voice. They are both one and the same, yet separate. They know each other far too well. Damian knows every scar that the Joker has given his brother, and he knows every mental scar and memories he has left on his brain, just as Jason knows every scar that he has ever gotten from Roz or training, sometimes his mother, just as he knows every doubt that lives and festers in his mind, and he hates it all. Damian digs his nails further into his palm. Focus on, you idiot, he says to himself. Jason had been at the manor, and he didn't know about that. There was no warnings of his arrival, so when Damian woke up and went downstairs as he normally would, he was not expecting his older brother to be there. There were some things that Jason didn't know. He had never known the amount of times he had died and come back. How there would always be a green hue that would fog his mind when he got too angry. How he had died for what seemed to be 1,000,000 times over and over again, and had been brought back 1,000,000 times. Jason still doesn't know, which is what makes it so much worse. So he took a deep breath, tried to act like his breath wasn't caught in his throat, and that he couldn't see Jason looking at him from his peripheral view. It seems Jason wasn't expecting him either, or maybe that was the whole reason he was here, to talk to him again. For now, though, Damian chose to ignore him and just do what he normally does. Drake, did you sleep last night? What is wrong with your hair? Oh, you. No, you know what? Yes, I did fall asleep. For once, he says. They had come to learn that, similar to Jason, his aggression was mostly a front for concern. When he had asked, did you sleep last night, in that tone, it was more so a cover for, did you finally get sleep? Thank God. Drake rolls his eyes regardless. Thank you for your concern, Tiny, and ruffles his hair. Wasn't concerned, he says back immediately, moving on and walking to the kitchen. Jason then speaks, and it takes everything in him to either not leave instantly or run up to him and start yelling. He wants to tell the pit to shut up, so he stays and just keeps looking around for the stuff he wants to eat. Tim, getting sleep? Never. Ah, yes, make fun of the insomniac, why don't we? Do we have a patrol later today? Grayson had asked as soon as he walked in. God, I hope there isn't a patrol today. I'm tired. For us, Drake says, directed at Grayson. We don't have patrol. Everyone else is on duty since Bruce is gone. We have to help Alfred with the house. The pit screeches and Damian tenses. He knows that Jason saw it. Aside from the overall panic from the idea of going on patrol, Damian mostly was acting normal. as normally as he could. Then night came and it was time for patrol, and the panic started all over again. Before they had left, all they could hear in his own mind was panic, 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 panic. It shouted to him to run away. It'd be cowardice, yes, but cowardice would be better than this confrontation. He shakes his head. Stupid, he thinks, and it was. It was stupid. He was taught not to get attached. That was where he failed. So he would have to live with his mistakes and live with Jason, as if the man didn't raise him. As calmly as he can ask, he says, "Where are we going?" Jason stares at him for a moment and sighs. "Just follow me." And it scares Damian to think that he would follow him with no questions asked, because he was still his brother. Someone he would follow to the ends of the earth and back again, and that scared him. To know that even after all this time, and after everything happened, that he would still follow him. At the same time, another part of him was constant with that, content to have that rock still. But the former overpowered the latter, and so his discontent continued. They had gone a ways away when Jason stopped suddenly. Damian followed suit immediately after. He turns his comm off, disconnects it, and throws it elsewhere, ignoring how Grayson or Drake would be screaming at him about what a horrible idea that was. He doesn't really care. Jason seems to have already done the same. He turns to him and pops off his own mask, and then his, then puts his hand on Damian's shoulder. "Did you die?" And his voice was choppy and choked. His eyes had a lack of green for once, and were a clear blue. It bothered Damian, reminding him too much of the other blue-eyed members of the family. Everything stops. Damian is staring in shock. Years of hiding this all down the drain if he couldn't lie his way out of this. "What the hell are you talking about?" he says. And for once the pit shuts down. His eyes are a regular mix of green and blue, as they normally are. He tries to act like he doesn't feel every ache from every wound and scar that was left from his many deaths. Jason seems to be upset, probably because he can tell he's lying. But Damian can't find it in himself to care. He had left him. He had left him alone to face all of those deaths. He faced them alone. He learned to cope on his own. Learned to suppress that anger and learned how to calm himself down. Jason wasn't there for any of that. It's then that he realizes that the anger was there again, on the surface, threatening to spill, and he's certain his eyes are glowing. He realizes what he's just done. Fuck. Habibi. What happened? Home. We can talk about this at home, he says, sucking in a breath and taking his mask back and putting it over his face. Okay, we can talk about it at home. Patrol lasts a while. They don't talk. They've never really had to before. Now it feels tense. He can tell Jason wants to ask him question after question about what happened. When he first died, why didn't he say anything? Damian would rather answer none of those things, and would prefer that this had never happened. When they got back, it's silent too. He assumes that the others are already home. He knows Jason wants to talk, but he's sure that he could get away from him for at least the rest of the night. Jason Todd Wayne, what did I tell you about turning off your comms? Never mind. Dick had that covered. He goes to slink away, but in an instant, Jason's eyes snapped at him. Don't move. We are talking about this. Dick, we can do this later. Never mind. Dick stops then, taking what's in front of him. Damian is glaring daggers at Jason, and Jason looks pissed and like he's about to pass out. Whoa, okay, calm down. Calm down? Dick, do you even know what I just found? Shut your mouth. Stop, Cass says, scaring all of them. She signs the rest. Don't fight. If you can't handle this calmly, then come to the couch. We'll help. We can handle it, Damian says back. He knows that there's no way out of this. He would much rather not have this conversation with Dick and the rest of his family hearing. He turns to fully face Jason. At least let me shower first. Jason nods a yes and moves to go upstairs. Dick turns to him. What was that about? Nothing to get your panties in a twist about. It's nothing you want to know. Jason hadn't told him about it, and he sure as hell wasn't going to. Jason walks past the man, ignored the sputterings he gave as he left. He wanted a shower. And if Jason was going to hunt him down to have this talk, then he would want to be comfortable at least. He walks to the showers. Was there any way he could really get out of this? It's foolish to ask. Jason clearly saw with his eyes, but he'd like to think that he could get away with it. He takes longer to shower than he normally would, and it's clear why. As soon as he steps out, he rushes to his room. Once he's changed, he steps to open his door already, hearing Jason walk up the stairs. He pushed past Damian, grabbing his arm and dragging him to the library. He sits Damian down on the chair. Talk. Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 1 of A Personal Guide with a lot of shit happening to learn how to be siblings again by Damian Wayne by Shroom_03. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next chapter.